Low, hey, what? Album review. Let's chat about it. Hey, guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning here tonight to chat about this latest from Low, Minnesota-based legends and slowcore icons, who in the early 90s released a string of albums that are really pioneering in genres of slowcore and dream pop. I Could Live in Hope, Long Division, and my personal favorite, The Curtain Hits the Cast. They're all classics. The Curtain Hits the Cast. My God, that album has zero hope. And Things We Lost in the Fire, on paper, it's probably their best album. However, in the early 2000s, Low released a couple of albums back to back that, I don't know, made me lose track of them for a while, and just made me lose touch with them. 1999's Secret Name, I thought it was just a little too slow, a little too uneventful. Trust completely put me to sleep. And The Great Destroyer, it's so boring. It's so one note. And for me, I thought Come On was just a little too sunny for me. I mean, you might like these albums, but they just made me, I don't know, lose touch with the band for a while. However, lately they have been on a hot streak, an experimental hot streak. Guns N' Drums was an awesome return to form. I mean, the haunting sort of grooves that we got here, and the more haunting vocals, as well as the shoegaze and electronic elements. This was the album that I wish that Low put out for years. And while not exactly, the most experimental or out of the box thing, I thought the folky Invisible Way was a really nice album. And Ones and Sixes, also one of my favorite Low projects of all time. I love the production here. I love the sense of finality. And I'm still coming down from 2018's Double Negative. This thing was kaleidoscopic and psychedelic and harrowing and larger than life. Which leads me to this new album, Hey What? And the singles leading up to it were pretty dazzling. And for the most part, their experimental streak is alive and well. This album starts off with White Horses, and it's a pretty great start. I mean, at this stage in Low's career, the fact that we don't know what we're going to get from them on a track-to-track basis is exciting in itself. And this is pretty out there in the biggest, best exciting way. It's bulky, it's rugged, but it also has these stunning harmonies. It's a great contrast, and it makes for something pretty hypnotic. Honestly, it makes for a pretty unbelievable start. And I love I Can Wait, especially just how fluid this album is as a whole, too. As experimental and pretty out there as it gets at times, it comes very easily to you. It's also genuinely heartfelt and really well performed. Now, stylistically, this album does float around a lot. There's a lot of drones, there's a lot of shoegaze elements, there's plenty of cosmic synths as well, but it's just catchy enough at the end of the day to really stick with you. Disappearing is gorgeous. It's slow-paced, it's cosmic, it seems to be unfolding mysteries at every turn. And I will say this, if you're new to Low's discography, don't start with this album. Go back and do some homework first. This track is just so big and boisterous, and while far from their slowcore roots, this is something very dazzling in itself. It's also, more importantly, very low at the end of the day, as they take something so small, so minuscule, and build something big and beautiful out of it. And Days Like These might be the best track here. I've loved it since it's dropped. It just has this big, larger-than-life sound to it. It is staggering. Honestly, within itself, this track alone is not like much I've heard this year. It just has this wall of sound to it amongst these harmonies. It is wild. There are deafening lows, there are glorious highs, and a really solid ambient portion as well. The sound play alone on this track is... I can't even describe it. I will say this, though. This probably isn't one of my favorite albums in their modern experimental phase. All Night is a little bit too subdued and quiet for my liking. This one just kind of plods along, and it's just not nearly as interesting as some of the other tracks on here. Vocally, it's just as gorgeous. The harmonies do sell this track very well. I just feel like this track doesn't progress as well as some of the other tracks here, like Days Like These. And Hey is sort of average to me as well. I mean, it does have some stuff going for it. I do really love the very cosmic atmosphere on this track. But for me, the vocals and the writing just don't add up on this track. Some of the harmonies are actually pretty nice, but I don't know, this track gets very boring very fast lyrically. Low have always taken something small and making something big out of it, but this just seems repetitive. And it's a shame because some of the glistening synths and the production tricks are really nice. Still though, Low are in a really great experimental phase right now, and this is still one of the most indescribable albums that I've heard all this year. Like, I think There's a Comma After Still is a really interesting interlude. This is a really tense one. It's very short, it's very rugged, it's very dark, and I don't know, like, it really gets under your skin. It sounds like something off of the soundtrack to Silent Hill 3. But like most tracks on here, it opens up into these big, sunny, hopeful drones. It's actually pretty glorious. But then I hear Don't Walk Away, and honestly, I'm a little let down. Like I said, Low has a knack for doing something gorgeous and huge and larger than life with something so small. But I feel like lyrically, they're trying way too hard here. But then we get more, and what even is this? This is one of the loudest and noisiest and most alarming tracks here. I genuinely can't even begin to describe this, but it is otherworldly. And the price you pay must be wearing off is probably the most true to form Low track here. It is minimal. It is all about the performance here. It has a lot of the excitement of the rest of the album. It has a lot of the trickery of the rest of the album. And the way that this track builds and becomes this glistening wall of gaudy greatness, it's a pretty awesome finale. I mean, yeah, I might be partial to their last album and maybe even the album before that, but Low are on an experimental streak right now that is just at the end of the day commendable. Yes, some of the songwriting let me down on this album. It did, just a little bit, sorry. But still, the band continued to take huge risks and get big rewards. It's a pretty indescribable album at the end of the day. I'm feeling a very strong 7 on it. Let me know what you guys think down below. If you liked the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, guys.